Good afternoon, everyone. I'm in this conference IMCCRT, which is conducted in 2023, and I'm with the topic Architecture in a Frame, Vernacular Architecture, which has to be showcased and presented by Dr. Bijay Kumar Das, who is Associate Professor, Department of Architecture and Planning, NIT Patna, who is also the author of this paper. And now it is presented by me, who is Arpita Srivastava, and I am research scholar at the Department of Architecture and Planning, NIT Patna. Now when we talk about vernacular architecture, it is defined as the people's architecture, and its self-produced resources and their survival habits and how they respond to climate, technology, land terrain, culture and traditions in India. There were two famous authors who quote vernacular architecture in their books. One was Amos Rapoport, and in his book he defines and distinguishes between folk, primitive and vernacular architecture. He defines it and says that the folk tradition is the direct and unselfconscious translation into physical form of a culture, its needs and values, as well as the desires and dreams and passions of people. And also the Paul Oliver, who in his book said that, by adding Rapoport's definition, said that this prototype is responsive to the local needs and it is carried ahead across the generations. So vernacular architecture can be analyzed with modern architecture, which includes degree of response, categorizing into some factors which really including imitate, which is interventions, influence, inspiration, evolution, innovation, new design, building materials, streetscaping, missing details, skyscrapers, unity in diversity, absolute neutrality, and studying from the sculpted panels and sculptures. This paper is also aimed to put the vernacular architecture in a frame and do analysis specifically according the few regions which we will be discussing later, which includes in India only, and ahead of them we can discuss the climate response to vernacular settlements, the culture, user profiles and spaces, the activities they perform, family type and cycle, economy and livelihood, gender roles, domestic routines, symbolism, aesthetic, building materials, anthropological values, codes of conduct and spatial values. Objectives of the paper are to evaluate the modern architecture with vernacular architecture using a degree of response and engage in solutions to put more of vernacular architecture into modern architecture. The keywords include vernacular architecture, modern architecture, folk tradition and climate responsive architecture. Now, when analyzing vernacular architecture with respect to the various factors, this paper will discuss about the vernacular architecture by putting it in a very consolidated way. Analysis of vernacular architecture would be specifically done according to the few regions, locations of India, which would be including three locations, which is first is Bhumij settlements of West Bengal, Santhal settlements of Jharkhand and Nalakettu settlements of Kerala, and will depend upon various factors which I have discussed in the abstract itself, which is climate, how the climate responsive architecture is linked, how vernacular architecture is linked with climate responsive architecture, the culture of the people, the traditions, what they perform, users profile, space and activities, family type and cycle, economy and livelihood, gender roles and domestic routines, symbolism and aesthetics, building materials, anthropological values, codes of conduct and spatial values. Now, when we talk about Bhumij settlements, they are the settlements which are like tribal people in West Bengal, and basically they reside in the Indian state of Odisha, Jharkhand, and West Bengal. So, Lutia is a typical Bhumij concentrated village in the area of Simla Band under Hirband Community Development Block of Khatra subdivision in the district of Bankura of the Indian state of West Bengal. So, for the climate analysis, climate is transitional between tropical wet dry and in the southern portions, and humid subtropical in the north. There is a pronounced seasonal disparity in rainfall. The year may be broadly divided into three marked seasons. So here the climate is between tropical wet dry in southern portions and humid subtropical in the north. So rainfall was also there. So you can see a typical Bhumij settlement house of West Bengal having thatch roofs and mud walls. The mud being adobe or rammed earth, maybe it's rammed earth. Now when we talk about the seasons, here there are three seasons: hot and dry season, which is March to early June, dry, having dry and sultry days also, and frequent thunderstorms. The next season is the hot and wet season, which is mid-June to September, when the rain-bearing monsoon winds blow from the southwest, and the cool season, which is from October to February, when days are dry and clear and stable atmospheric conditions prevail. So the houses you can see in the picture of are kacha houses, and with the having the typical traditional tribal structure of the house. The walls are made of mud and roof is made with corrugated thin asbestos or mud tiles or thatch, whatever they found it suitable, because the rains are also like there. So whatever is good for to prevent rain from coming inside the house, they use that. Now when we see about the typical structure of the house, you can see in these pictures like the tribal people, how they live, how they how they are their houses are so clean and so organized, and just a room is there, I think. And in some houses like it's an attic, ground floor, and then double floor, it's like that. And how the shading is done using mud or thatch roofs. These are all the pictures which are from a tribal habitat exhibition, Manav Sangrahalaya, West Bengal. So they are taken from them. So most of the houses they see you can also see that there is only one room at the center of the house, and besides the all four houses the all four the sides are like looking like veranda. So Bhumij people generally used to sleep in the veranda in the night during summer season, and they like to sleep under the sky. So no kitchen room is there in the house, in their houses. No sanitary toilet to any house of the Bhumij village, and also no drinking facility by drinking facility has been done by the local Gram Panchayat authority by providing the running water through pipeline to villages. Females used to cook there in the front of the house in mud made oven with firewood. So you can see that settlements and how their livelihood, their daily routine works and all. Now when we talk about more of like occupation thing, they have engaged in fishing from Kansabad river, and they used to sell fishes, and they are also engaged in Manrega, which is like Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, and which is known as all of us know that is 100 days work. And they don't have any land in their name except their house. So they used to cultivate boro paddy. Boro is a rice which is sown in winter and harvested in summer season, and it's also called the boro rice, in the bank of the river Kansabanti once in a year. And most females along with males of this Bhumit village dominated earn money by doing work in the field of animal husbandry like cattle, sheep, hen, goat, goose, etc. When talking about their clans and their family, such as they have different clans like Jagrishi, Tesa, and Pat Hembra, and in them the marriage within the same clan or lineage is forbidden, and the average age of male and female Bhumij people are 16 to 21 and 14 to 16 years. So you can see that they have their marriage is very much like in young age. They are traditional Hindus in religious belief, and they used to worship Hindu deities like Kali and Mansha by inviting Hindu Brahmins to act as priests. They also preserve some of the customs of their ancient religion. And their primeval deities are Deuta, Dharam Deuta, Singabona, Jahubora, etc. And their traditional festivals are Salyu, Hula, Bandana, Tushu, Karam, and they used to celebrate their festivals very gorgeously in their village, and they drink haria, which is like a liquor made from by the fermentation of rice. Now next settlement is Santhal settlement, Jharkhand. So Santhals were like first found in an article entitled Some Extraordinary Fact, Customs, Practices and of the Hindus by Lord Tynemouth, Sir George Shore, published in the Asiatic Researches of 1795. The community was designated as a rude and unlettered tribe residing in Ramgarh, the least divided part of the company's possessions. Later, the Santhals appeared with the names Sonthal or Sontar. They were identified as a large Dravidian tribe classed on linguistic grounds as Kolarian. They used to found in West Bengal, Northern Odisha, Bhagalpur and the Santhal Paraganas according to the colonial descriptions. According to the records of the mythology tribe by colonial anthropologists, the tradition of the Santhals is traced back to their origin from a wild goose which laid 2 eggs. From those eggs sprang Pilchu Haram and Pilchu Burhi, the parents of the tribe, who begot 7 sub-tribes. The earlier abode of the Santhals was Hirihi or Ahiri Pipri. Troisi refers Damin Ko, a region of Santhal Parganas district of Bihar, where he concluded his study, The Heart of the Santhal Homeland. Saint opines that since the second half of the 18th century, the first record of the Santhal settlements were Chota Nagpur Plateau and in the adjoining districts, and most of the areas are least developed in the hill forest region. After independence, they come under the jurisdiction of Jharkhand, Bihar and the West Bengal states. So we can see these are the pictures of a typical Santhal home or a house, which is like these areas are in these people live in hilly areas, so they have pitch roof, and their the walls are very decorative, and they have used mud tiles or and I think not brick but ram dirt or maybe, and some of the people have used thatch roof also, but it is pitched kind, yeah, or you can say gable, because pitched roof is very much prominent in rainy seasons and also for hilly areas. And you can see the picture of a Santhal tribe. They are dancing, and how they used to dress up and how they are performing. Mainly we are concerned about the architecture, so how their houses look like. So there are both the pictures depict how creative they are and how they have intricate paintings on their walls of the houses, and how the doors and colorful brick, like not brick but mud walls are there. So next, if we come more upon what are their occupations, so they plow agriculture and had segmental egalitarian type of society, and anyone in their society who rendered land cultivable was entitled to cultivate it. And they used to grow lowland wet rice, which is also their main source of food. And they have plenty full of land in their villages, and they were because they were nearby hilly areas and forests, so they can establish new villages also. And the forests were a kind of an economic resource, or you can say livelihood resource. And they hunted and gathered food from there and used forest products for building materials, implements and fuel. They used to fulfill their economic needs themselves, or employed village servants to meet those needs. For all practical purposes, their villages were self-sufficient. The community life of Santhals is centered in their villages, and a Santhal village consists of a long street. Houses are built on the two sides of the road, and their dwellings are never found in isolation. So they used to live collectively, and they believe in man nature spirit. Man is a part of the nature. A natural phenomenon occurred for certain cause indicate the future. During the time of the site selection for new settlement, Manji, who is the headman of a Santhal village, with 3 or 4 men, used to go and inspect a site in a forest, and then he enters the forest, and then he test their omens whether this place is good to settle down or not. And then after that there's a long story, so I'm not reading it out. But thereafter Maji distribute homestead lands and fields to the villagers, and then they build their own houses, and they used to help each other in building their house. So these people are very creative also, and they used to live collectively, and they are very helpful to each other, and they build beautiful houses, colorful houses. And the forests were the main you can say main source of occupation and livelihood. They used to hunt and gather food from there. Now, talking about the next settlement, which is Nalakittu settlement, which is in Kerala. So their houses are courtyard houses. So you can see these pictures are from the courtyard house, and how the beam works are done. And also from the pictures up above the title, they have also like pitch roof, because Kerala has too much of rains, and it's like raining all the time in Kerala. And so they have those houses who can the rain can flow easily to the ground, or they have spouts in their roofs, so that rainwater harvesting can also be done. And how if you can see the plan, uh, the rooms are there at the back end, then there is kitchen in the right, and a large central courtyard, and they have like heighted how plinth. Okay, so prayer hall is also there. So when we talk about courtyard house or katusala, and they are the mostly representative typologies of houses in India. The local katusala in Kerala is called Nalakettu. Nalu means four and Kettu means hall. Okay, in Malayalam. So it stands for house with four encircling halls. The four halls are according to the direction of the outer facade face, that is Vadakini, northern quarter. Western quarter is Padin Jatini, eastern quarter is Kiska Kenini, and southern quarter is Thekkini. Nalukettu can also be multiplied to make double Nalukettu, which is Ettu Kettu, and fourfold Nalukettu Patinayarunu Kettu. In Courtyard House, the Ara stands in the western quarter, Padin Jatini. Ara is western quarter, and you can see Ara or southern hall quarter Thekkini with east-west orientation and north-facing facade. In the multiplied Nalukettu Kettu double and Patinjar Kettu quadruple, the Ara would still be located in the west or south direction. The design is formally prescribed in the regional Vastu Shastra. Structurally, according to the regional Vastu Shastra, a Nalukettu would be established by four rectangular halls, Vidiksala, connected to one another by intermediary Diksala and Alindam. All the halls are bracketed by annular wall Uttaram on top of the single encircling roof rest. The equal structural quality of four halls is, according to Thampuran 2001, the main prerequisite of a Nalukettu. Proportional calculation of courtyard. So here courtyard calculation is done according to the plot, and according to the canonical principle, will leave moderate size of the courtyard wide enough for functional activities like drying rice, planting sacred plant, tulsi tara, they used to say tulsi tara, water cistern, garden, or children playground. What signifies this type of traditional courtyard is its consistency towards regional Vastu Shastra and mostly associates with Brahminism tradition practiced by Brahmin and strong Hindu Nayar families, which are mostly in northern and central Kerala. So when we talk about Nalakettu settlement, it's found in Kerala and is also been, it's a like a tradition. Traditional courtyard is there, so it's a traditional, and they plant tulsi, and they also have water cistern, garden, or children playground over there. And this type of a traditional courtyard, which is according to their Vastu Shastra, and it's mostly practiced in Brahmins and Nayar families of Kerala. And you can see in this picture the plan of a house, Kerala house. Now when we talk about the degree of response, so degree of response is basically how the vernacular settlements are can take, actually they can take, how vernacular settlements can take, or how they can be like analyzed with the modern architecture. So means not vernacular, but how the like things from vernacular can be seen in the modern architecture. So this category has been some of the like 13 categories have been there, uh, which is by authors own sense of mind, you can say, and how like the experience of the author, the vision of the author, which he wants to describe, the qualities or the categorization of the degree of response can be imitate or interventions, how the modern architecture is like can be an imitation of the vernacular architecture, how the influence of vernacular can be seen on the modern architecture, inspiration can be taken from the vernacular architecture and how it can be reflected in the modern architecture, evolution can be seen from the vernacular settlements and how they evolve into big modern and buildings. Then innovation of ideas also is there, new designs takes place, how the building materials can be like seen, and now the building materials are all industrialized. So streetscaping, how the earlier streetscaping was done and how now the modern architecture is like differentiating the streetscaping from vernacular architecture. Missing details of the vernacular architecture can also be seen in the modern architecture. Skyscrapers, the earlier the temples were very heighted, and from that the imitation of that can be seen in modern skyscrapers. Like from that criteria, the skyscrapers can be built, like had been built, not can be. Then unity in diversity, how the vernacular structures can be united together and can be seen in modern architecture. Diversity can be seen. Now absolute neutrality, how it is like seen in modern architecture, and starting from the sculpted panels and sculptures by their studying their craftsmanship and also like performing craftsmanship in the modern architecture, how the marbles and have been carved by taking vernacular architecture things, how it is done. So there is a need of response and need of degree of response, and these are the factors which can be analyzed. Now conclusion can be we have seen the major characteristics of vernacular architecture of the Bhumij settlements, Santha settlements, Nalakittu settlements, and which included their location, people, architectural factors or features, and also their cultural and traditions. And we can thus evaluate modern architecture with vernacular architecture using a degree of response and engage solutions to put more of vernacular architecture into the modern architecture. And thank you. These are the references. Thank you so much.